Special Agent Elias Vance, a man whose steady gaze hid 2 years of deep undercover work, entered Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, Terminal 4. To the security team, he was just another black man with a worn leather satchel, an easy profile for scrutiny. Officers Miller and Davis, their posture heavy with routine suspicion, tightened their formation. Overseeing them was Supervisor Alastair Finch, a man who enforced prejudice cloaked as procedure. Finch, white, stern, and with the kind of ex-military bearing that saw threats in skin tone, smiled the self-satisfied smile of someone about to prove his own biased conviction. What they didn't know was that Vance's concealed federal badge and his immediate delay at their checkpoint would, in less than 4 hours, cost hundreds of lives. The fluorescent lights of the security hall hummed. Vance placed his satchel on the conveyor belt. The machinery screeched. Red lights exploded across the checkpoint. A technical failure or a deliberate flag. Finch's grin widened. "Sir, step aside," Officer Miller ordered, his hand instinctively going to his radio. Secondary screening. Vance didn't flinch. He couldn't. Not with a terrorist cell counting on him to be at a specific rendezvous point, and not with the lives of countless travelers hanging in the balance. "Of course," he said, his voice quiet and even. They circled him, oblivious to the fact they had just snared the only man who could stop a major attack. Vance had endured this routine 127 times in 3 years, each humiliation cataloged in the neat columns of his mind. Today, however, he carried the weight of a city. Finch materialized from his glass office. "Random screening," he announced, though his eyes had locked on Vance the moment the alarm sounded. Random, Vance thought, like the 89% of minority passengers Finch's team pulled aside. He remembered his daughter, Clara, asking last month, "Why do the airport people not like you, Daddy? I have a flight to catch." Vance said evenly that Finch's smile was dismissive. "They all do. Miller, full inspection. By the book." Vance raised his arms for the pat-down, enduring the deliberately rough hands, the methodical stripping away of his dignity. "Don't react. Think of Clara. Think of the mission." His phone buzzed twice. A coded alert from his command, checking on their best undercover operative, wondering why he was delayed. "Phone off," Miller commanded. Vance complied, the device powering down, taking his lifeline with it. "I see another troublemaker," Finch muttered, leaning close. "Another one who thinks he's above the rules." "I'm just trying to get to Denver," Vance replied. "Sure you are," Finch sneered, his breath smelling of stale coffee and self-righteousness. 23 years I've done this job. I could spot your type across the terminal." "My type." The words hung like a noose. Sarah Chun, working the adjacent line, met Vance's eyes briefly, a flicker of shared, weary understanding, before she looked away. Everyone did. The clock above security showed 9:02 a.m. time was running out. "Cuff him," Finch announced, holding up a pair of zip ties. This was not standard procedure. It was a power displayed that's not necessary, Vance said, his hands fisting involuntarily. "I haven't refused any request." "Resisting," Finch announced loudly to the gathering crowd. "You all see him resisting." The cameras on passenger phones caught everything, including the satisfaction gleaming in Finch's eyes. As they marched Vance toward the sterile detention area, a walk of shame designed for maximum humiliation, he caught sight of the departure board. 3 hours and 58 minutes until the planned attack. Inside the detention room, the smell of fear and disinfectant hung heavy. Finch shoved Vance inside. "Terrorist threat," Finch announced to the corridor. "That's what your screening flagged. Explains the attitude." Vance stood alone. Every minute spent here was a minute the real terrorists had to position themselves to weaponize the airport's protocols. "Strip search," Finch announced, re-entering the room. "Full cavity. No exceptions." "You can't." Officer Miller finally protested, pale-faced. "Sir, we need probable cause. Regulation states. I make the calls. You want to join him, Miller?" Miller fell silent. Vance seized the moment. "I have the right to one phone call after processing. I know my rights." "Do you?" Finch's face darkened. "Rights are for citizens who respect authority, not troublemakers." The door slammed shut, leaving Vance with his throbbing wrists and the knowledge that his carefully constructed mission was unraveling due to one man's prejudice. A sharp, urgent knock interrupted Finch's circling. Sarah Chen's muffled voice called through the door. "Sir, Director Haynes from TSA headquarters is on line 1. He says it's urgent. Something about a federal investigation." Vance's pulse quickened. Had his handler finally reached someone? Finch stormed out. Vance was alone with the buzzing light and the ticking clock. 3:15 p.m. His real badge, FBI Counterterrorism Division, was sewn into the jacket lining. One flash would end this charade, but doom the operation. Finch burst back in, purple with rage, trailed by two nervous-looking supervisors. Director Haynes says someone's been calling about you. Finch spat. Says you're important. Says to let you go. He planted himself inches from Vance's face. But my gut says you're dirty. I want terrorism charges. Vance's control cracked. In 30 minutes, people are going to die. The room froze. Threatening now. Finch's eyes lit up. I'm trying to prevent an attack, Vance continued, the words tumbling out. 3 men, clean records, recruited through dark web forums. They're going to use TSA protocols against us. Turn security checkpoints into killing floors. Finch backhanded Vance across the mouth. Blood bloomed. He assaulted me. Finch calmly declared. Lunged right at me. Vance spat blood onto the concrete. Check my jacket. Left inner pocket. Behind the lining. Check it. Finch ripped the jacket, felt the seam, and pulled. The badge fell onto the metal table with a metallic thud. FBI, Special Agent Elias Vance, Counterterrorism Division. The silence was absolute. Call it in, Vance commanded. Authentication code Beta 91, direct line to Assistant Director Shaw. The second supervisor, shaking, made the call. His face went white. It's real. He's real. Jesus Christ, Finch, he's undercover FBI on a terrorism case. You could have said, Finch whispered, all authority evaporated. I tried to get a phone call, Vance said, standing slowly. But you're too busy playing God to listen. Chun and Miller burst in. The attack, Chun said, urgent. If it's real, Vance looked at the clock. 3:33 p.m., 17 minutes. He snatched the desk phone, dialing a number burned into memory. Vance, authorization Beta 91. Patch me to Director Sterling. Now. The voice of the FBI director filled the room. Vance, where the hell have you been? Your team's been dark for 3 hours. Detained by TSA, sir. The operation's compromised. Suspects are mobile. Need immediate tactical access to the A concourse. Richards, Director Sterling's voice boomed, addressing Finch's counterpart. If you're listening, you will comply with Agent Vance immediately. Any interference carries a 20-year sentence. The line went dead. Vance turned to the room. You know what the worst part is, Finch? The man just stood there, badge trembling in his hand. I'll stop these terrorists. Save lives. And tomorrow, you'll still stop the next black agent, the next Arab mother, the next anyone who doesn't fit your narrow view of American. He retrieved his belongings. I recorded everything, he said, pulling out a small device. Hours of it. Every slur, every violation. He handed Chin a card. My supervisor, Civil Rights Division. Document everything. Build a case. Then he was gone, moving toward actual danger, leaving Finch with the ruins of everything he thought he knew. The A concourse erupted in controlled chaos. Vance sprinted, federal agents materializing around him. The targets, 3 clean-cut white men, stood near checkpoint 7, hands inching toward concealed weapons. FBI. Nobody move. Gunfire exploded. Agents swarmed. In seconds, 2 terrorists were dead, the third wounded. 3 pressure cooker bombs, enough to collapse half the concourse, were secured. Vance's phone rang. Director Sterling. Put me on speaker, Marcus. This is FBI Director Sterling. The voice boomed across the terminal. What you've witnessed is Special Agent Vance preventing a catastrophic terrorist attack. He spent 2 years undercover, risking everything. 1 hour ago, Agent Vance was illegally detained by TSA Supervisor Finch. That detention nearly cost hundreds of lives. Finch pushed through the crowd, face ash white. Supervisor Finch, Vance's voice carried across the terminal. You detained me for being black. Nothing more. No evidence. No cause. Just skin. I recorded everything. Your selection rates, your comments about my type, your violence. Sarah Chun and Miller pushed through. I have video. Chun shouted. Everything he did. Miller added, I'll testify about the targeting. Director Haynes arrived from headquarters. Supervisor Finch, he said formally. You are suspended pending investigation. Badge and gun. Finch's hands shook as he unclipped his badge. 6 months later, at a congressional hearing regarding the newly enacted Thompson Protocol, named in Vance's honor, per his request to protect his family's privacy, the systemic damage was laid bare. Senator Patricia Williams, a fierce black former prosecutor, addressed the head of the TSA. Agent Chin's data was thorough, Williams stated, sliding papers across the table. An 89% selection rate for minorities, 6-hour detentions without cause. We have 17 buried complaints against Supervisor Finch. The new protocol mandated mandatory bias interruption training, body cameras for all supervisors, transparent selection algorithms, and a civilian review board with subpoena power. Elias Vance stood, looking at the cameras. The protocol isn't about me. It's about her. He pulled out a photo of Clara. It's about making sure she never has to choose between her dignity and her safety. That's what security should be. Change came slowly, but it came. Officer Miller now headed the new training program. Sarah Chun built the independent oversight system. Supervisor Finch was awaiting trial. Vance stood once more in the SEA terminal, a new position ensuring checkpoint integrity. He watched a young Muslim family pass through security, the cameras recording, the selection light truly random. No one was harassed, he thought of Clara, now certain that heroes looked like her and that fairness was possible. The work continued, endless and necessary. But for today, a little girl could fly home, knowing her daddy had made the world a little bit better.